The man triggered the overclock game mode unexpectedly at the final stage of conquering the dungeon. He experienced a significant boost in cognitive processing due to overclocking. Pachiro, who was already low on health, became a target and was instantly killed by him on the spot. After successfully taking down Pachiro, Fengshi's level immediately rose to level 7. Shortly afterwards, a system prompt sounded. The final boss Pachiro of the Dark Moon Graveyard has been defeated. Congratulations on completing the level. The portal will open nearby soon. Players, please collect the loot in an orderly manner and leave. At this point, everyone else was so shocked that they couldn't say a word. Being able to defeat the critically wounded Pachiro in such a state, they were at a loss as to how it was accomplished. When Kuriko and Coke regained their composure from the shock, they couldn't help but look at Fengshi with a revered expression. They actually won. The two of them instantly exploded with excitement. Feng, you're too amazing. Being able to defeat the boss like that. You're truly my idol. We can make history together. Just because it means they will be permanently listed on the glory board. In the future, any players entering the Dark Moon Graveyard will see their names, admired by others. It's hard not to become famous. Luna Xiao couldn't help but walk happily towards Snow by shouting at the same time. Sister Snow, we have cleared the Dark Moon Graveyard. Snowby, who had just recovered from the shock of almost losing her life to the giant sword, was not as excited as others about clearing the dungeon. Snowby couldn't help but tilt her head, using those beautiful eyes to appraise Fengshi's figure from behind. She found Darkblade to be truly mysterious. His previous command felt like that of a seasoned general, with every order being precise. Even the team leaders, who often lead dungeon raids, from the guides were no match. It was simply incredible. Just then, Fengshi suddenly turned around and asked Snowby, "Who will open the box?" And Snowby simply waved her hand and said, "Since you are the expert in extreme counterkilling, you can open the Pachiro box." Fengshi wasted no time upon hearing this. He directly kicked open the box and nodded in response. "Then I will obey your command." As the box opened, suddenly a floor full of equipment fell out. Everyone saw these dropped items and eagerly gazed at them. After glancing at the pile of equipment, Kuriko couldn't help but exclaim, "All these things are items dropped by the boss of the Dark Moon Graveyard, and each one is invaluable. There are also 2 mithril rank weapons among them. The rune sword is a 2-handed sword with a level requirement of 30 strength. It has an attack power of 45, stamina plus 9, a 10% chance to cause the heavy strike effect when attacking, and a 10% penetration effect. Rune shield is a mithril rank item at level 5 with a strength requirement of 23. It provides a defense of 69, defense rate of 35%, strength plus 6, stamina plus 10, and comes with a resilient shield skill that reduces incoming positive damage by 30% for 10 seconds. After Snowby finished counting the spoils of war, she spoke up. "For those who have a need for the equipment, please roll within the team. The highest roller will obtain it." Upon seeing the attributes of these equipment, everyone was shocked. Each piece of equipment was of the finest quality. The little Gagas couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the rune sword and the rune shield. "Wow, these equipment are truly top-tier items." They are now available for sale, with a minimum value of at least 80 silver. However, at this stage, no player would be foolish enough to sell them. They will certainly keep them for themselves. Just then, Snowby suddenly picked up a glowing scroll and spoke to Fengshi. "Take the equipment you have your eye on. It's what you deserve." Upon hearing this, Fengshi started looking around in all directions. It seemed he wasn't interested in the mithril rank equipment. Seeing this, Snowby couldn't help but feel puzzled. After a while, Snowby finally spoke up and asked, "Darkblade, are you dissatisfied with the drops?" And Fengshi immediately shook his head, then pointed to the nearby broken sword that was glowing with a red light and said, "I just want this blade of ashen blaze." Luna Xiao couldn't help but sound a little puzzled. Items that emit red light are cursed junk equipment. No one dares to touch them. Even if they drop, no one wants them. There are so many good equipment options. Why do you choose this one in particular? But Snowbite suddenly interrupted cheerfully. If you ask me, not only this blade of Ashen Blaze, but also high-level blueprints, materials, equipment, and everything else can all be given to you. Even if you don't ask. Feng sure couldn't help but raise an eyebrow with a hint of playful smile at the words. How come you suddenly became so generous? While Snowbite secretly decided in his heart, I must pull Darkblade into the body-devouring serpent. I need to first get closer to Darkblade. Then Snowbite took out the blueprint and spoke. The same old words. I hope you join the body-devouring serpent and give up your zero-wing studio. Join us wholeheartedly. Our relationship will no longer be just cooperation. And Feng sure quickly put the spoils into his pocket. Then he smiled satisfactorily. I accept your kindness. Snowbite immediately revealed a smug expression upon seeing the situation. She secretly felt happy. Very good. Darkblade finally agrees to join us, guide. With Darkblade joining us, the body-devouring serpent is almost guaranteed to become the strongest guide in the realm. But at this moment, Feng sure suddenly waved his hand indifferently and said, However, the matter of you wanting me to join the body-devouring serpent, I must refuse. As soon as the words fell, Luna Zhao immediately pointed angrily at Feng sure and shouted, You have clearly gained benefits. How can you still shamelessly refuse? Upon hearing this, Feng sure chuckled happily, then spoke again. The reason for my refusal is very simple. Then Feng sure spread out his hands, showing a firm expression. Because I already have my own partners. I can't let them down, he said. Upon hearing this, Snowbite immediately turned to Kuriko and said gently, All right, Darkblade. What if I let your partner Yi join the body-devouring serpent? Feng sure, on the other hand, showed a playful expression, glanced at Kuriko and said, Then you can ask them yourself. Kuriko immediately started to restrain the restless heart and said, If I could directly enter the world's top guide body-devouring serpent, I would naturally be very happy. However, I am Feng's person. I will stick to my original intention and grow with Zero Wing Studio from scratch. After saying that, Kuriko immediately raised his hand and said loudly, One day, Zero Wings will also become a top guide like body-devouring serpent. That's why I don't want to join you at all. And Coke, who was at a loss for words, also expressed the same sentiment. Upon hearing this, Feng sure immediately showed a relieved smile and looked at Snowbite with a grin. Snowbite sighed impatiently and said, Darkblade, I know there's no point in forcing you. I'll just have to look forward to our next collaboration. Upon hearing this, Feng sure immediately nodded and responded, No problem. At the same time, a portal the size of one person suddenly opened behind him. Feng sure saw the portal open and turned around to say, The items are distributed and the portal is activated. It's time to go out. Just after everyone had left the Dark Moon Graveyard, a system announcement sounded in the White River Castle area. Congratulations to Body-Devouring Serpent and Zero Wings for becoming the first teams to conquer the Inferno difficulty Dark Moon Graveyard. All players in the teams will be rewarded with 10 points of reputation in White River Castle. Maple Leaf Town Area System Announcement. Congratulations to Body-Devouring Serpent and Zero Wings for becoming the first teams to conquer the Inferno difficulty Dark Moon Graveyard. All players in the team will be rewarded with 30 points of reputation in Maple Leaf Town. Congratulations to Body-Devouring Serpent and Zero Wings for defeating Inferno difficulty Dark Moon Graveyard. The first team. All players in the team will receive a mysterious treasure chest as a reward, rewarding 50,000 XP, 10 honor points. And Feng sure walked out of the dungeon. They saw hundreds of players gathered around the teleportation portal. They couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. Just then, a tall and imposing figure suddenly emerged from the crowd. At the same time, he let out a cold snort. Kid, we meet again. He is none other than the president of the Willing League, Iron Sword Lion. It is obvious from this spectacle that they are looking to cause trouble for Feng sure. Here they come. Scarlet Flame Sorceress Luna Zhao shot the entire scene with her own power. Just now, Iron Sword Lion saw Fengshe coming out of the Dark Moon Graveyard dungeon. Couldn't help but be somewhat surprised, saying, "To actually clear Dark Moon Graveyard, our Willing League has spent a lot of money, but still haven't gained anything." Just then, Snowby, who had just walked out from the portal, suddenly interrupted, saying, "For those who specialize in PvP, if you can't clear the dungeon, you need to look for the reasons within yourselves." Iron Sword Lion, upon hearing this, slowly drew the giant sword from his back and said indifferently, "Since you know, we come from a background of PvP playing." He then fiercely stabbed the long sword into the ground and said coldly, "Then you should naturally know where our equipment mainly comes from." Snowby looked at the densely packed players and couldn't help but silently ponder in his mind. Although the Willing League was a motley crew, they had the advantage of numbers, which made things quite troublesome. Iron Sword Lion saw Fengshe, and the others remained silent and spoke up again. "You guys must have gained a lot from clearing Dark Moon Graveyard. How about dividing it in half for us? It's definitely better than having us gentlemen kill you and loot your gear all over the ground." The little brother next to Iron Sword Lion quickly suggested, "Big brother, they are currently exhausted. Why don't we just rush them and make all their gear drop?" Iron Sword Lion shook his head, then stared at Fengshe and said firmly, "Getting the gear is secondary." Immediately, he fiercely pointed at Fengshe and shouted loudly, "Today, the main target is you, kid. Darkblade." Iron Sword Lion glared at you with eyes as big as copper bells, full of resentment. He sneered and said, "Kid, you better strip down to your underwear today and give me everything." Fengshe remained calm as he looked around. Then, he quietly signaled Snowby, "Miss By, let's go through the woods behind us. They have a lot of people and are PvP experts. Just avoid getting surrounded and killed by them." Iron Sword Lion saw Fengshe whispering there and immediately understood his intention. He approached quickly and sneered, "Trying to run? There's no way out." At that moment, Fengshe suddenly rushed towards Iron Sword Lion. Fengshe interrupted his nonsense. People from the Willing League were surprised to see Fengshe approaching them. Fengshe, with a smile on his face, spoke as he walked, "Are you interested in my equipment?" Just as Fengshe walked up to a few meters away from Iron Sword Lion, he suddenly stopped and taunted, "If you have the guts, come and get it." Iron Sword Lion saw more than 100 people facing him, yet he still dared to act so arrogantly. He immediately drew his long sword and shouted, "Damn, you still dare to be arrogant? This is not a town. There are no guards to help you. Everyone, be in combat mode." As soon as the words fell, the over 130 people brought by Iron Sword Lion began to pick up their weapons one after another. Although most of them are around level 3 players with extremely poor equipment, only over 30 people have reached level 5. Kuriko immediately pulled out his magic staff upon seeing this, getting ready with excitement. "Do you want to fight? It's a perfect opportunity to test the power of my new equipment." Luna Xiao couldn't help but frown at the sight and commented, "What is Darkblade thinking? Actually battling with a PvP guide." Snowby also directly drew her long sword and said coldly, "They dare to have designs on our body-devouring serpent. They will pay the price." Iron Sword Lion dares to threaten himself at the sight of a woman. He immediately began to charge and scolded, "Nasty woman, go away. I don't care what your body-devouring serpent is. If you want to help this kid, I will deal with you together." Hundreds of people immediately rushed towards Fengshe. Iron Sword Lion took the lead, charging towards Fengshe. His huge sword was already eagerly thirsty. Only by drinking Fengshe's blood could it be satisfied. The next moment, the huge sword in Iron Sword Lion's hand fell to the ground with a loud bang. But Fengshe's reaction was very quick. He leaped up and dodged this wave of attacks in an instant. He hadn't waited for Iron Sword Lion to react yet. Fengshe twisted in the air. He exerted force under his feet and kicked Iron Sword Lion away in one go. Iron Sword Lion, caught off guard by the kick, couldn't help but be secretly surprised in his heart. How could this kid be so fast? Then Fengshe took out the weapon from the backpack, turned around decisively and ordered, "Everyone, enter the forest. Do not get entangled too much." As soon as the words fell, Kuriko and the others immediately turned around and withdrew. But Snowbite ignored Fengshe's shout. She dashed straight towards Iron Sword Lion. Both sides have not approached yet. The opponent's magic is already blasting over, and the target is conspicuously locked onto Little Aurora, the healer. Just at this critical moment, Lonely-ass Snow, who has switched his birds for cannons, arrives just in time. He quickly raises the rune shield to activate the skill Resilient Shield. The magic then crashed down heavily, directly smashing onto the rune shield. However, it did not break his defense. He successfully saved Little Aurora. Watching as 1/3 of their HP was depleted, Lonely-ass Snow couldn't help but be secretly surprised. It turns out that PvP talents really do pack a punch. If only Coke were here. After all, he is the tankiest protection paladin. When Little Aurora snapped out of it, she quickly cast Healing Touch on Lonely-ass Snow. Instantly, their HP was topped up. Little Gas was almost speechless at the sight. This damn magic defense is just too strong. At the same time, Scarlet Flame Sorceress Luna Zhao finally unleashed the terror of the sorceress at this moment. She had just finished drawing the final spell in her hand. The terrifying Grand Fire Burst had already taken shape in her hands. Next, Luna Zhao waved her hand. The Grand Fire Burst immediately exploded towards the Willing League and others. A group of little Gas felt the scorching heat of the fire. They were suddenly stunned and stood still on the spot. The next moment, Grand Fire Burst landed with a bang. The entire area was instantly engulfed in flames. The low-level little Gas were killed on the spot. Iron Sword Lion felt the continuous heat wave coming from behind him. He couldn't help but shudder. Why is this woman so strong? He quickly stabilized his mind and continued to charge forward. At the same time, he ordered, "Don't panic, everyone. Keep charging. We have more people. Overwhelm them. Assassin, flank and kill the healers." However, Luna Zhao, who was already preparing other skills, remained unfazed. Instead, she shouted towards the crowd, "Daring to wage war against our body-devouring serpent. Simply ignorant of one's own limitations. Prepare to die." Upon finishing her incantation for Flame Dragon's Roar, Luna Zhao swiftly rotated her wand towards the members of the Willing League. Countless fire elements gathered in the magic circle and erupted fiercely. In the blink of an eye, they converged into a massive fire dragon. The Willing League's MT, who had just charged towards Luna Zhao, was immediately devoured by the fire dragon. Several Willing League MTs, who were left with low health, they were instantly taken out by the skill Flame Dragon's Roar, causing multiple terrible howls of pain to erupt. At the same time, Iron Sword Lion watched as notification boxes kept popping up in front of him. He couldn't help but take a deep breath in shock. When he saw the notification that Protection Paladin Black Samurai had died, he couldn't help but shudder. Damn. Our Willing League's chief main tank was actually one-shot. How high is that woman's damage anyway? And Luna Zhao couldn't help but breathe out a sigh of relief after using her ultimate move. Then she opened her mouth again towards Iron Sword Lion and others, saying, "What a group of fools who won't shed a tear until they see the coffin." The man brought over 100 people to surround a few players who had just finished a dungeon, wanting them to hand over their loot. Scarlet Flame Sorceress Luna Zhao. She releases her ultimate move, Grand Fire Burst, with a simple raise of her hand. She used a skill and directly took down the strongest MT of the Willing League, instantly killing a group of weak players. The members of the Willing League were stunned as more than 10 people were taken out with just one magic attack. Iron Sword Lion quickly yelled out, instructing the assassin team to flank from behind and take out the DPS. Iron Sword Lion then turned fiercely in all directions, looking around while expressing his anger. He said, "Wait for me, Dark Blade." At this moment, the members of the Wuling League rushed forward and engaged in close combat. They had a large number of close combat players, quickly entangling all members of the body-devouring serpent. However, Iron Sword Lion did not see Fengshi's figure. He couldn't help but shout in confusion, "Where is he?" Upon hearing this, Shiman Bloodshed quickly approached Iron Sword Lion and explained. It seems like Darkblade disappeared right from the start. Iron Sword Lion immediately exploded in place upon hearing the news. He quickly ordered, "Find him. We must bring him out. Today's battle has been a heavy loss. Everything is because of Fengshi. Iron Sword Lion will definitely not let Fengshi off easily." Meanwhile, in the place with the most Wuling League players, a series of flames kept descending, instantly taking away more than 10 people. At this moment, Luna Zhao finally unleashed the terror of the sorceress. Just at that moment, the assassin of the Wuling League had silently sneaked past from behind. However, Luna Zhao, unaware, angrily exclaimed, "Damn it! These villains are impossible to kill no matter how many times I kill them." Just then, little Gag Gas, sneaking up behind her, suddenly whispered slyly, "Hee! The famous Scarlet Flame Sorceress will fall under my blade today." Another little Gag Gas immediately interrupted, "You step aside. I'll go first." Luna Zhao, who suddenly sensed movement behind her, was startled. "There's an ambush." She immediately turned around and shouted at the two little Gag Gas. A fierce burst flame instantly began to condense rapidly in her hand. But the next second, a prompt suddenly popped up indicating that the skill was cooling down. The newly condensed flame also dispersed instantly. Luna Zhao couldn't help but think to herself, "This is not good. DPS can't keep up." The two little Gag Gas immediately knew that Luna Zhao's skill had entered the cooldown state. The two quickly approached and laughed at the same time, saying, "Hee, you immediately face your death." But just then, a sharp blade suddenly appeared and struck them. The masked little Gag Gas suddenly exclaimed, "How come your health bar is empty?" The other little Gag Gas beside him couldn't help but express surprise, saying, "Aren't you the same?" Then the two little Gag Gas quickly turned into data and dispersed on the spot. And the one who just took action to rescue them turned out to be Fengshi wielding two swords. Watching as Fengshi transformed into a gust of wind and swept in to help resolve the crisis, Luna Zhao couldn't help but be dazzled and exclaimed, "Darkblade!" As soon as the words fell, another gust of wind swept up beside Luna Zhao once again. Fengshi wasted no time. Instead, he immediately started running and wandering through the battlefield again. Luna Zhao, who was standing still in place, watched Fengshi's departing figure. Couldn't help but feel secretly shocked in his heart. Darkblade is really too strong. At the same time, in the rear of the Wuling League, healers are desperately trying to replenish the health of the front line. Although Wuling League has brought many people, most of them are newbies. Not only is there a large level gap, but the equipment gap is also exaggerated. Only by relying on those healers to desperately cast skills to maintain the health can they barely entangle with the members of the body-devouring serpent. Just at this moment, as the male priest's prayer was only halfway through, he saw a pitch-black long sword cut across his neck. He then felt a sharp pain on his neck, and everything before his eyes turned dark. Shortly after, a system prompt sounded. The enemy priest Celestial Chosen has died. A level 5 cloth-wearing priest. Under Fengshi's sword, he was as fragile as paper. A single strike was enough to take him down. The next moment, Celestial Chosen's teammates suddenly turned around and said, "Celestial Chosen, why haven't you used your skill?" Before the man could finish speaking, he was met with Fengshi's fierce attack. He swung his sword again, and the system prompt sounded once more. Enemy priest water-injected beef has been killed. The priest on the side saw this scene and screamed in horror. Iron Sword Lion, upon hearing the scream, immediately looked over and noticed that the healers were being quickly harvested by Fengshi, as if lambs to the slaughter. This scene made his eyes twitch in agony. He immediately began to activate the charge skill. At the same time, he let out a thunderous roar. Darkblade awe. As soon as the words fell, a giant bull phantom appeared on Iron Sword Lion's body. His eyes were bloodshot at this moment. He unleashed a bull charge and headed straight towards Feng Shi. All healers are dead. Needless to say, this team battle is also lost. And all of this was caused by Feng Shi. In the blink of an eye, Iron Sword Lion picked up the giant sword in his hand and immediately slashed down towards Feng Shi. The next moment, the giant sword of Iron Sword Lion fell down with a bang. Feng Shi made no response at all. He was easily slashed by the giant sword. Immediately, there was a rumbling sound. The giant sword pierced through and fiercely slammed onto the ground below Feng Shi. And Feng Shi's figure suddenly turned into a flash of light and disappeared in place. This is actually a phantom clone of Abyss Dweller. Feng Shi then suddenly appeared behind the Iron Sword Lion wielding dual swords. The Iron Sword Lion couldn't help but be shocked the moment it saw Feng Shi. He immediately angrily drew his long sword. Then, he swiftly swung it towards Feng Shi while shouting, "You coward who only knows how to play tricks! Dare to take a hit from me!" As soon as the words fell, Iron Sword Lion once again launched the charge skill, raising the great sword and swiftly attacking Feng Shi. And Feng Shi, upon realizing Iron Sword Lion charging towards him, made no attempt to dodge. Gripping the two one-hand swords in his hands, he swung them directly at Iron Sword Lion's great sword. Immediately followed by a loud bang. Iron Sword Lion, witnessing Feng Shi directly taking on his full-force sword strike without moving a muscle, looked at Feng Shi in astonishment. He knew that if there was too much of a difference in strength, it would be impossible for Feng Shi to casually withstand his sword strike. Feng Shi, seeing Iron Sword Lion's astonishment, couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. "Your sword strike is nothing special." Next, Feng Shi raised his leg and delivered a kick to Iron Sword Lion's abdomen, sending him flying. Iron Sword Lion was unaware that Feng Shi, after leveling up, had allocated all 6 free points to strength. He was now stronger than Snow by, not to mention the average equipment of Iron Sword Lion. After kicking Iron Sword Lion and sending him back, Feng Shi didn't give Iron Sword Lion any time to think. With a quick movement, he instantly flashed behind Iron Sword Lion. Following that, Feng Shi raised his hand, and the sword fell. A move called dual-wielding double slash swept across. The two swords instantly turned into 8 attacking shadows heading towards Iron Sword Lion. Iron Sword Lion was completely powerless to resist. In just that instant, the sword energy directly pierced through his body, causing a series of high damage numbers to appear. Iron Sword Lion didn't even have a chance to escape. In an instant, Feng Shi was like a fleeting glimpse. His body didn't even have time to resist. His health bar was empty directly. Then there was a thud. Iron Sword Lion fell to the ground with a crash. And Feng Shi, after killing him in one move, he didn't even bother to look at him. Iron Sword Lion instantly met his demise under Feng Shi's sword. He immediately roared angrily at Feng Shi with a face full of unwillingness. "I'm not done with you." He finished speaking. The body of the Iron Sword Lion quickly turned into a mass of data and dissipated rapidly on the spot. At the same time, some players from the Willing League saw Iron Sword Lion being easily taken down and were shocked beyond belief. They had all witnessed the power of Iron Sword Lion. He could eliminate players as effortlessly as cutting vegetables. Now, to be taken down in just a few moves by Feng Shi was something they found hard to comprehend. Suddenly, the little Gaggas began to have thoughts of retreat. They started to move backward while muttering to themselves. Just at this moment, Flametire interrupted. "What's the point of waiting? Even the boss is dead. Are you just waiting to deliver a message?" Iron Sword Lion got killed in seconds. Without a commander, the whole Willing League is in chaos. Everyone has started crazy fleeing for their lives. And the Assassin Alliance players watching the battle from the cliff couldn't help but be surprised. "It seems that we don't need to lend a hand after all." Heartstabber looked at the fleeing Willing League players with indifference and said, "From the moment they provoked Darkblade, the Willing League was already finished." The man unleashed 8 swords and killed the leader of the Wuling League in just 2.5 seconds. His amazing move directly scared away the entire entourage of the opponent's guide. After resolving the Wuling League, Feng Shi did not linger either. He simply turned around and bid farewell, saying, "I'll be leaving now." As Luna Zhao watched Feng Shi's departing figure, she couldn't help but let out a sigh of disappointment.
"Ah, if only Sister Snow had one more master like him,"
she said. Snowbite shook his head and explained,
"He is too outstanding, like a true dragon. Right now, he is just biding his time. Sooner or later, he will soar to the sky. It's impossible to keep him here. Perhaps in the future, he will become the most formidable opponent of the body-devouring serpent."
Upon hearing this, Luna Zhao couldn't help but fall into contemplation. Snowbite looked at Feng Shi's departing figure and couldn't help but speak with a serious expression.
"I hope this day comes as late as possible. Darkblade."
After the Wuling League was destroyed, this news quickly spread throughout Maple Leaf Town, shocking all the players in Maple Leaf Town instantly. Some people even captured and uploaded videos of the battle to the official forum website. The number of views instantly reached tens of thousands. It suddenly became popular. I quietly glanced at the number of subscribers to my channel, let out a soft sigh. Body-devouring serpent first solos Inferno difficulty Dark Moon Graveyard. Later, they also killed over 100 people from the Wuling League. The goddess's grace has already conquered all male players. The status and influence of the body-devouring serpent in the White River Castle area has soared. Countless new players want to join the body-devouring serpent. Because of this video, many high-level guides have also noticed Feng Shi's presence. The reason for this battle is that the Wuling League sought revenge on Feng Shi. However, Feng Shi not only received help from the Snow Queen, but also killed Iron Sword Lion head-on, proving their strong abilities and good relationship with the Snow Queen. When Feng Shi and the others returned to Maple Leaf Town, many players' attention on the street shifted to Feng Shi. A male warrior couldn't help but exclaim,
"Isn't that Darkblade who went into the dungeon with Snow Queen?"
Another girl, an elementalist, shyly said to her companion,
"I wonder if Darkblade would take me to level up if I asked him, Big Brother Darkblade.
On the road, Feng Shi has completely become a big star. Wherever he goes, people pay attention and discuss. Coke couldn't help but pat Lonely as Snow on the shoulder and smiled, saying,
"It must be cool to team up with Brother Feng for battles."
Lonely as Snow agreed that it's cool, but also a bit daunting. Coke immediately smiled confidently upon hearing this. "After all, you are not a pure tank. Leave the front to me after I learn the new skill." Just then, Feng Shi suddenly opened his backpack and took out the equipment inside while speaking. "Coke and Drowsy Sloth, your equipment is also here." After distributing the equipment, Feng Shi suddenly turned around and said,
"Repair your equipment and buy some supplies. Get ready to level up. The earlier we reach level 10, the earlier we can get to White River Castle to gain more advantages. I have some things to take care of. I'm leaving first."
Upon hearing Feng Shi's arrangements, Coke and the others immediately responded in unison.
"Yes, Brother Feng."
Soon, Kuriko and the others hurriedly arrived at the blacksmith shop to prepare the equipment for repair. When the group arrived at the blacksmith shop to repair their equipment, the blacksmith took a look at the gear and suddenly said,
"According to the extent of damage on this weapon, it will cost 1 silver and 63 copper to repair everything."
Kuriko and Lonely as Snow were shocked when they heard the price.
1 silver and 63 copper? Are you trying to rob us?"
Kuriko exclaimed. Lonely as Snow, looking at the repair cost, couldn't help but exclaim,
"For silver? Is this a mistake?"
The blacksmith retorted impatiently,
"The more durability loss, the higher the value of the equipment and the repair cost. In the same situation, plate armor is more expensive than leather armor."
After Lonely as Snow finished paying the repair costs, they couldn't help but say with a gloomy face,
"If it weren't for earning over 3 silver and 5 bottles of mid-level healing potions by clearing Dark Moon Graveyard, I would have been broke just paying the repair costs."
Just then, Kuriko suddenly spoke up, saying,
"By the way, our reputation has increased. We have a 10% discount in Maple Leaf Town.
The blacksmith, upon hearing this, immediately changed his expression and angrily rebuked.
Your repair fees have already been discounted by 10%. Don't be ungrateful.
Upon hearing the blacksmith's words, Kuriko could only helplessly pay up. Despite enjoying a 10% discount in Maple Leaf Town, repairing the equipment was more costly than expected. However, if the equipment were to become unusable, the leveling speed would also greatly decrease. It was necessary to carry out the repairs. At the same time, Fengshe arrived at the trading area. He opened his backpack interface, preparing to take stock of the spoils. He looked at the system's prompt of incoming payment information and couldn't help but feel secretly delighted. Added to the proceeds from the previously sold light design blueprints, the system showed a total of 73 gold in his backpack. He then took out the Blade of Ashen Blaze and began to contemplate quietly. The owner of the Blade of Ashen Blaze was once revered as the God Slayer, a being that even the gods feared. In my previous life, I never personally saw the actual item. I remember that clues about this weapon can only be found in Star Moonlight City. Before that, it is indeed just a useless item. It's better to store it in the warehouse for now. Later, Fengshe pulled out a palm-sized crystal from the backpack and muttered to himself. Is this an item dropped by the Iron Sword Lion? He had no idea what this thing was. Then he directly used the appraisal skill to explore its true nature. The system immediately sounded an alert. Crystal of the Seven Luminaries, a special crystal item. After use, it can teleport to Blackwing City with 4 uses remaining. Fengshe couldn't help but feel secretly delighted as he looked at the crystal of the Seven Luminaries in his hand. No wonder in the previous life, Iron Sword Lion and his Wooling League rose rapidly in a short period of time. It turns out they had this thing. The crystal of the Seven Luminaries is the pass to the legendary region of Blackwing City. Now that I have this treasure in my hands, Iron Sword Lion shouldn't be able to rise anymore in the future. Thinking of this, Fengshe quickly checked the time. He found out today is Black Friday, the big day in Blackwing City. He must make a trip there. So Fengshe opened the communication interface with Kuriko and said,
Kuriko, I have other things to attend to, and can't take you to level up. Rest for a while, then go to this place in the level 8 area, Howling Hill, to level up. Just be careful, the leveling speed is very fast there.
At the same time, inside the Hearts Delight bar in the slums of Maple Leaf Town. This is a gathering place for infamous players. Although it is still daytime, the Hearts Delight bar is packed with red-named players, who walk the fine line between good and evil. However, among this group, a few green-named players stand out as being out of place. These individuals are Iron Sword Lion, from the Wooling League, and his henchmen. Iron Sword Lion looked at the poker-faced man drinking opposite him and said,
Skybreaker, I want you to take out a player. Name your price.
The poker-faced man ignored Iron Sword Lion and continued to flirt with the voluptuous beauty beside him, chatting and laughing with her. The impression he gave was not just cold, but icy. Shi Feng Bloodshed beside suddenly slammed the table and scolded.
Do you hear me? Our boss is calling you. Stop playing dead and speak up.
Just as Shi Feng Bloodshed's words fell, a shiny dagger flashed across his throat. He didn't even have time to react or scream before his health bar was depleted. Iron Sword Lion was dumbfounded watching Shi Feng Bloodshed being instantly taken care of. However, he dared not to step up because he knew that if he did, he would meet the same fate as Shi Feng Bloodshed. At that moment, Skybreaker looked coldly at Iron Sword Lion and smiled. And Iron Sword Lion could only take a few deep breaths. After calming down his inner anger, he quickly spoke up.
I mean, there's a very powerful guy. You must be interested.
Upon hearing this, Skybreaker immediately revealed a cold smile and asked,
Who is it?
In reality, Skybreaker is an assassin himself with quite a reputation. In the game world, he is a top-notch expert. As soon as he heard about a powerful player, he became interested right away. Blackwing City is one of the most mysterious cities in the realm. It far surpasses Star Moonlight City, where magnificent and grand European medieval buildings can be seen everywhere. There are many masters of various professions living here. The things they create are often put up for sale in shops. And you can also buy items unique to various countries. This is a luxury that is unheard of in ordinary big cities. At this time, Fengshe still did not know that Iron Sword Lion had already found an assassin to take care of him. He had already been transferred to the Blackwing City through the crystal of the 7 luminaries. He looked at the familiar city streets and couldn't help but think to himself, this is the location of the most famous auction house in the realm, Blackwing City. After Fengshe checked the time, he couldn't help but mutter to himself, it's still early. Before the auction starts, he can wander around and buy some local specialties. Fengshe immediately took out the demon mask from his backpack. To avoid exposing his identity, he planned to mingle in Blackwing City under the identity of Black Flame. Fengshe quickly put on the demon mask. Suddenly, a wave of dark energy enveloped him. His appearance quickly changed as a result. With the demon mask to conceal his identity, Fengshe nodded in satisfaction. Then he prepared to go to the engineering store first. After walking for more than 10 minutes, Fengshe arrived at the front of an engineering store. Although this Kreutz workshop looked very inconspicuous, Fengshe knew that this workshop was opened by engineering Grandmaster Kreutz Gaia. He was also the only engineering Grandmaster in Blackwing City. However, Fengshe only stayed inside for 2.5 minutes before hurriedly walking out of Kreutz workshop. He couldn't help but clench his fists at the thought of the pair of epic-level rocket boots inside, priced at 1,200 gold. Too expensive. He couldn't afford any of the good stuff inside, especially those life-saving epic-level rocket boots, which were crafted by the engineering Grandmaster and had attributes and effects that ordinary rocket boots couldn't compare to. However, Fengshe bought a large quantity of mid-level frozen grenades. Mid-level frozen grenade. Effective against monsters and players below level 70. Can deal 800 points of frost damage within a 12-yard range. Freeze for 5 seconds. Slowed down by 60%. Lasts for 12 seconds. He couldn't help but think to himself when he looked at the frozen grenade. Buying these items this time was worth it. Dealing with the pursuit of the Wulian League is more than enough. Shortly after, Fengshe headed towards the auction house, but accidentally bumped into a player from another country. Madness Blade, who was bumped into for no reason, instantly exploded with anger. Damn. What an NPC. Walking without looking. Fengshe immediately stopped walking when he heard the noise. Madness Blade also noticed that Fengshe was just a player without a guide, not an NPC. Madness Blade immediately chuckled arrogantly and said,
So you're just an ordinary player without a guide.
Fengshe looked at the shiny guide badge on Madness Blade's chest and couldn't help but mutter to himself,
Is this player from another country?
Although only one pass for Maple Leaf Town appeared, the entire White River Castle administers hundreds of towns. Star Moon Kingdom has over 100 cities. The realm consists of over 100 countries. It is normal for hundreds of players to show up at Blackwing City as a neutral and free city-state. Madness Blade looked at Fengshe with some surprise and said,
You're lucky. As a free player, it's quite fortunate for you to stumble upon here by accident.
And Fengshe had no intention of wasting time with him. She turned around to leave directly. Madness Blade's face darkened instantly. How dare you ignore me? As a big shot like Madness Blade, he immediately roared in anger. Do you think it's over just because you bumped into me? Fengshe couldn't help but stop in his tracks upon hearing this. He looked indifferent, glanced at Madness Blade, and replied,
Otherwise?
Just as Madness Blade was about to act and deal with Fengshe, the swordman player, Lone Swan, immediately held his shoulder and said,
Oh my! We are all elites from different countries. Instead of being at odds, wouldn't it be better to make friends and exchange insights?
Madness Blade saw Lone Swan stepping in and immediately stopped while shouting,
In consideration of Lone Swan's reputation, I won't bother with trash like you.
Lone Swan, who appears as a weak bookish scholar, arrived in front of Feng Shi. He immediately reached out his hand in a friendly manner and spoke.
I am Moonlit Shrine. May I ask for your name, sir?
And Moonlit Shrine, this renowned guide in the realm, is also very famous. Belonging to the Tulip Empire, where competition is said to be more intense, Moonlit Shrine is one of the best there. He is much stronger than the body-devouring serpent. And Feng Shi naturally knew. The scholar Lone Swan in front of him is also a top-tier swordman. He immediately shook hands friendly with Lone Swan and introduced himself.
I'm Black Flame from the Star Moonlight Empire.
Lone Swan saw that Feng Shi did not resist contact with him, so he continued.
Star Moon Kingdom is quite far from here, isn't it? Is this your first time at the Blackwing City Auction House? Do you know that to enter the venue, you need to pay 2 gold to purchase a Blackwing mark?
Feng Shi couldn't help but mutter to himself upon hearing this. In order to keep a low profile, he decided to pretend he didn't know. He immediately shook his head and replied,
I'm not sure.
Lone Swan immediately smiled friendly and suggested,
Why doesn't Brother Black Flame join our team now? I happen to have an extra Blackwing mark on hand to team up with Brother Black Flame for the entrance.
Madness Blade immediately exploded upon hearing this. He angrily pointed at Feng Shi and shouted,
You, a casual player, still want to get a free entrance ticket? Do you deserve such a hard-to-get ticket?
Madness Blade then pushed Feng Shi away and said angrily,
Lone Swan, if you let him join the team, don't blame me for leaving and finding other players.
Lone Swan immediately felt a headache when he saw this. He quickly spoke up to mediate.
Brother Blade Black Flame, although he is a casual player, coming here indicates that he has strength. We may have to collaborate in the future.
Upon hearing this, Madness Blade immediately expressed his displeasure.
When you talk about strength, I have the powerful backing of Bloodthirsty War God. That's true strength. Just based on his mediocre skills, does he really think he can have the same status as the prodigy of Super Guide?
Upon seeing Madness Blade's arrogance, Feng Shi immediately turned around coldly and waved his hand.
No need to bother.
They watched as Feng Shi turned around and walked towards the auction house. Lone Swan couldn't help but scratch his head and say, Players in the Star Moon Kingdom are very rich. He can't even buy Blackwing Mark with an additional 3 gold now. Madness Blade saw Feng Shi leaving so elegantly, immediately pointed at him and scoffed.
What are you pretending for? A fool who can't even enter the auction house gate.
Soon, the auction house echoed with the sound of clanging. The gate opened right on time. See the gate of the auction house open. The players immediately crowded around eagerly, afraid of being late and not getting in. When Madness Blade and the others reached the door, a guard suddenly blocked their way and said,
Sorry, you can't enter for now.
Lone Swan quickly took out her Blackwing mark and said,
We have Blackwing marks. Why are we not allowed in?
The guard explained,
Ordinary people need to wait for all the VIPs to enter first.
The knight then pointed at Feng Shi and said,
He is the VIP demon hunter of Blackwing City. He can enter the auction without a mark.
Madness Blade followed the direction pointed by the knight, and saw that it was indeed Feng Shi, the VIP demon hunter. He was immediately shocked, and his pupils shrank. And Feng Shi wasted no time. Ignoring the astonishment of the crowd, he walked into the auction house under the respectful bow of the knight. Once again, all the players were shocked to an even greater extent, and Madness Blade instantly exploded in place. The fact that the knight could show such respect meant that the person in front of him was definitely extraordinary in strength. The man is a solitary player. He came to the legendary Blackwing City to participate in the auction. And as the prominent elite guide, Madness Blade immediately showed a look of disdain, indicating that he would never associate with Feng Shi. But after the doors of the auction house opened, Feng Shi, as a demon hunter, had the privilege to enter first. The crowd of players being blocked outside the auction house were instantly shocked by Feng Shi's identity. Blackwing Auction House is very large. The entire auction house is as big as a football field. At this point, almost all the players, who have entered Blackwing City have already taken their seats. After everyone took their seats, an old man walked onto the stage. The auction officially began. After the announcement of the start, the old man then took out the first item up for auction. The auction item is a level 20 mithril rank plate chess piece. Starting bid is 2 gold. And Feng Sure immediately used the skill Eye of Observation to check the equipment's attributes. It can perceive unknown and hidden targets. There is a certain chance to discover the target's weak points. VIP bidders can receive additional information when participating in auctions. After reading the equipment attributes, he fell into silence. Little Gadgas frowned and said,
"Unidentified things, it's like gambling whether they are top grade or not."
Feng Sure couldn't help but start thinking secretly.
This equipment is good for livening up the atmosphere. I can also catch some fish on the side.
He immediately offered 3 gold coins. Little Gadgas below immediately got excited when he saw it. The demon hunter made a move. Could it really be a treasure? He even obtained the title of demon hunter. He must have seen all kinds of treasures. It should be a good item. Madness Blade, who was sitting not far from Feng Sure, immediately burst into laughter. I thought he would be more extravagant with his move. Then Madness Blade suddenly stood up abruptly. He raised his big hand and bid 5 gold coins. The surrounding Little Gadgas couldn't help but be surprised and said,
"To bet 5 gold coins on equipment, truly wealthy."
Another Little Gadgas disdainfully said,
"What's so strange about that? He is an elite member of the Super Guide Bloodthirsty War God."
But Madness Blade didn't have long to revel in his triumph. Feng Sure slowly interjected,
10 gold coins.
The players in the arena were instantly stirred up. Demon Hunter made another move, doubling the bid. However, despite being a demon hunter, without a guide to rely on, can he surpass Bloodthirsty War God? Madness Blade couldn't help but make up his mind in response.
"I can't let you steal the limelight. What you have your eyes on, I'll take it. I bid 15 gold,
he said angrily. Feng Sure showed no reaction to Madness Blade's bid. He calmly raised his hand again and bid 20 gold coins. Madness Blade immediately gnashed his teeth in anger upon hearing the sound. He couldn't help but curse under his breath.
"Pressuring me again, bastard."
However, at that moment, Lone Swan suddenly patted Madness Blade on the shoulder and said,
"Brother Blade, spending 20 gold on a chest armor is already quite extravagant. There's no need to compete for it."
And the enraged Madness Blade pushed away Lone Swan's hand and shouted,
"Don't stop me. Since he refuses to give me face, I have no intention of giving him face either."
The Madness Blade, who had already lost his mind, immediately muttered darkly in his heart, "At all available guide gold." He immediately shouted out loud,
30 gold.
Immediately the little Gadgas in the room were shocked. 30 gold? Even the small guide couldn't produce it. The nearby little Gadgas calmly analyzed.
"Not necessarily. This must be a treasure. It's just that people like you and me completely can't see through its value."
Feng Sure fell silent. Madness Blade burst into triumphant laughter.
"Ha ha! How about that? Can a casual player like you produce so much? I have the backing of the Bloodthirsty War God with plenty of money. What do you have to compare with?"
After a brief moment of silence, Feng Sure spoke slowly.
35 gold.
Madness Blade was completely shocked upon hearing this. What's going on? How is this possible? How could a free player have so much gold? Immediately, Madness Blade stood up and shouted,
"I demand to verify player Black Flame's account. There's no way he could have so much gold."
Upon hearing this, the old man couldn't help but feel a twinge of anxiety. Then, after receiving a prompt from the system, he spread his hands and said,
"The bid is valid."
Before the words had even settled, Feng Sure looked down disdainfully and said,
"Do you doubt me? Don't you have the Bloodthirsty War God behind you? Show some strength." These contemptuous words instantly annoyed Madness Blade. He wished he could tear Feng Sure apart right now.
The already infuriated Madness Blade couldn't help but express his anger in his mind. He actually dares to talk big here. I can't stand it anymore. He immediately made a decision in secret. Even if it exceeded the budget, he would still apply for more advance payment from Guide. Immediately, he suddenly stood up and bid 36 gold. Upon seeing this, Fengshe immediately let out a disdainful cold laugh. The super guide's arrogant prodigy. Just adding 1 gold? Following that, Fengshe calmly mentioned the price. In one breath, he mentioned 40 gold, instantly silencing the entire audience. At this point, Madness Blade's mentality had completely collapsed. 40 gold coins, that's my salary for several years. This guy, risking so much just for a chest armor. With this in mind, Madness Blade couldn't help but silently contemplate. This clearly indicates that this chest armor is an extremely rare and precious item. Its value far exceeds 40 gold coins. Yes, it must be like this. Madness Blade immediately made a decision in secret. I will compete with you till the end today. Then he slammed the table hard. Immediately, Madness Blade shouted at the old man. Hysterically screaming, I offer 50 gold. Upon seeing this, Lone Swan couldn't help but grimace. Then silently complained to herself. Is this person asking for trouble? 50 gold is like using all the guide's capital. Upon seeing this, Fengshe immediately stood up and started applauding. Then he coldly said, It's yours. I admit defeat. When he heard this, Madness Blade immediately laughed smugly. What's wrong? Why aren't you keeping up? He then suddenly turned around and taunted Fengshe. You are wealthy, aren't you? Come on, keep shouting louder. After a while, seeing no one else continuing to bid, the old man gently tapped the hammer and announced. Since no one is bidding anymore, this rare-looking Western Wind chest armor now belongs to Mr. Madness Blade. And the crazed Madness Blade continued to laugh arrogantly, saying, I finally snatched the treasure Western Wind chest armor that you wanted. The next moment, Madness Blade suddenly trembled violently. Then, with a look of disbelief on his face, he said, You said Western Wind chest armor, right? Is it the one worth only 1 silver? While the old man respectfully explained, This is a rare appearance Western Wind chest armor. Although the attributes are the same, it looks more stylish and prestigious. Upon hearing this, Madness Blade instantly exploded with anger. I spent 50 gold on a lousy skin. How do I explain this when I go back? Madness Blade was instantly knocked out by the news. The transaction is complete. We will notify your guide to collect the fee within 24 hours. If payment is not made, your guide will face severe penalties from the system. The players in the field looked at each other in bewilderment. Everyone couldn't help but have the same thought in mind. An elite guide was destroyed without shedding a drop of blood. This demon hunter is truly devilish. The man raised the price of the mithril rank chest armor at the auction to 40 gold. But the Madness Blade that has already attracted bidding is now at 50 gold. It seems there will be a fierce competition with Fengshe. But the next moment, Fengshe actually announced that he is giving up and withdrawing from the bidding. Madness Blade smoothly obtained the item, the Western Wind chest armor, which is only worth 1 silver. Madness Blade was so angry that he fainted on the spot. Looking at Madness Blade, who had been bankrupted, the little Gagass couldn't help but feel sympathetic. It's really sad. He was tricked by Demon Hunter. The little Gagass in the venue immediately pointed at Fengshe and shouted, This Demon Hunter is very cunning. He specializes in leading others into pitfalls. Everyone, be careful. Afterward, there was a half-hour equipment auction. During this time, Fengshe did not make any moves until the auction of other items began. Soon, the old man took out an unidentified scroll and announced, Next up for auction is a weapon forging design blueprint. Fengshe immediately used the eye of observation to check the attributes. When he saw that it was a mithril rank Silver Dawn one-hand sword design blueprint, he couldn't help but think that luck had finally come his way. Fengshe looked at the design blueprint and couldn't help but ponder silently. The Silver Dawn series of weapons were almost a must-have for level 10 players in the previous life, difficult to acquire and highly sought after. Now, upgrading the Abyss Dweller required exactly 10 mithril weapons with the blueprint, saving him from having to grind in the dungeon. Immediately, Fengsher slowly raised his hand and bid 1 silver. Below, little Gaggas immediately shouted when he saw this. The demon hunter is preparing to harvest players again. The little Gaggas were instantly in an uproar. Could it be another reverse operation? Deceiving us into buying garbage? Absolutely cannot follow the price. This demon hunter might actually be an NPC in disguise, specifically deceiving players into bidding. After seeing someone bid, the old man slowly announced,
1 silver once.
However, the little Gaggas present did not bid. Fengsher couldn't help but mutter under his breath when he saw the situation. No one actually bid. I wonder if I'm going to get lucky and snag something. The old man paused for a moment and then announced 1 silver twice. However, the little Gaggas in the audience all had the same thought at this moment. They absolutely could not be the second ones to be fooled. Afterwards, the old man then forcefully struck the small hammer in his hand and announced, no one bid. Sold for 1 silver. The old man then made a big announcement with a wave of his hand. So, this mithril rank Grandmaster Quarren's masterpiece, the Silver Dawn one-hand sword blueprint winner. Congratulations. As soon as the words fell, the faces of the little Gaggas turned green with anger in an instant. Waves of lamentations kept coming out. It turned out to be a mithril rank blueprint. Any mithril rank blueprint is worth at least 20 gold. He actually got it for just 1 silver. While Fengsher looked at the blueprint that he effortlessly obtained, he couldn't help but secretly rejoice, successfully taking advantage of an opportunity. This time, it could be considered a huge profit. After auctioning off the design drawing, the old man took out 11 books and announced,
this is the last item of today's auction. The Close Combat Profession Super Rare Skill Thunderous Inferno starting bid is 5 gold.
Upon seeing that skill book, Fengsher's eyes lit up, and he was secretly shocked in his heart. Thunderous Inferno is the ultimate skill that Close Combat Profession players desire, truly deserving to be the highlight treasure of this auction. In my past life, I have never seen this skill book circulating in the market. Its value is truly immeasurable. The players participating in the auction are mostly focused on close combat professions. Therefore, the competition is exceptionally fierce. The bidding price quickly soared to 42 gold coins. During this period, Fengsher did not make a move. After all, everyone knows its value. Just wait until the end to make a move. At this time, the price has already risen to 43 gold coins. However, at this moment, a 4th-tier professional suddenly raised his hand and bid 50 gold coins. And 4th-tier professionals have always been the wealthy people in the realm world. Fengsher quickly used the eye of observation when he saw the situation, and he immediately felt in his heart that something was wrong. The 4th-tier professional, Archmage, is in trouble. The NPC is participating in the bidding. The opponent is a wealthy mage. Fengsher's pressure has suddenly increased at this point. Using tricks on the NPC is no longer effective. He can only directly bid an estimated price. I don't have any more gold coins left. I hope to reach the minimum system selling price. He immediately bid 60 gold coins. But for an Archmage of the 4th-tier profession, 60 gold coins is only the money for conducting one magic research. The mage raised the price to 70 gold coins. Anxiously, Fengsher quickly opened his own email. Then he muttered to himself silently in his heart. The prepared gold is still not enough. He checked the auction to see if there were any new deposits. The moment Fengsher opened the email system, he couldn't help but secretly rejoice at what he saw.